As far as the plumbing, what you'll see in this particular house, and something that's standard with Stone Mill, is that we're using the Flex plumbing, the IPEX plumbing that you see through here. And it's an insulated PVC tube that comes through. And people say, well, is that something as strong as copper? And it's as strong, if not stronger than copper. If you've ever kind of done any kind of repair work in your bathroom and hung that bathroom mirror and heard the sound of that psss as you've hit the copper piping with a screw or a nail, you realize that, I thought it was going to be tougher than that. But one of the reasons that we've actually employed the Flex tubing that you see for our water management system in the house is so that you don't have those elbows. And that's typically where those little brackets are. Here is where air gathers and you get that hammering sound, that ta 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 ta. And of course, if we're moving around a box, etc., we have to kind of put a number of elbows in to create that flexibility with copper plumbing. So with the Flex tube, we can do it without creating any kind of airlock or damage within how our houses are built. So you'll notice it through. It's not like that we've used an inferior product. As a matter of fact, quite the opposite. We've used a superior product. And certainly for your home comfort, you'll find that as well. Okay, so our furnace system, the heating system that you see behind me here, is a Bryant heating system. And Bryant, so that you understand, is the commercial grade or the builder grade of the Carrier air conditioning, Carrier furnace systems. Now this is a closed combustion, high efficiency service that you see here behind us. And we also employ two additional pieces to it. Our air cleaner is an April air cleaner and also an April air humidifier that is on the furnace. And these systems are tied in with our air conditioning system. Typically how we rate that is about a ton per 1,000 square feet of house. This particular home is about 5,000 square feet, so there would be a 5-ton system that would actually service as air conditioning with this Bryant system. Sometimes we're asked about ceiling height in the basement. People are looking for, say, a 9-foot ceiling. I understand why the question is. In many cases, they're trying to do a home theater, room downstairs. They just really want to make the room quite dramatic. Now, there's a couple of challenges with that. Not saying that we can't do it, but there's a couple of ways that we can do it. We're already down 7 feet as it is, and that pretty much is our coverage. This allows us to build on virgin soil, and anything shy of going under that, we might be running into rock, which would have to blast, or in the case of water, and you'd have an indoor pool that you may or may not decide that you want. So if we're going to go higher, it means we have to come out of the ground. So we can do that. What it does do, though, if you have a building envelope or a height restriction, that 2 feet or that foot you're coming out of the ground cuts into that. So if you wanted, say, a 10-foot main floor and a 9-foot second floor, you're going to eat into that by coming out of the ground for your 9-foot basement. As it is, Stone Mill's basement is 95 inches, and that's a clearing of 95 inches. And that doesn't include, in some cases, some of our HVAC or our heating systems that you have here. But for the most part, for the finished areas, for home theaters, for accessory apartments, or whatever the case you're doing, in the basement area, 95 inches clear would give you enough headroom, I think, for you to do a lot of the things that you want to do. If we do go come out of the ground, if we come up that foot that you were looking for, or 1.5 feet you're looking for, what that does, if we have porches, and in many cases our designs do have that, they will be outside of the comfort level of the city's bylaw. That basically means that they're out of the ground by 24 inches. Anything that's 24 inches off the ground has to have a secondary step and has to have a railing around porches. So you decide. We can certainly do that. We can come out of the ground a foot, but we have to put railings all the way around the porches. Typically, our comfort level is to be able to put one step down to grade so that you don't have to have the railing on the porches. You can just basically step down and you're there. Behind me is our windows in the basement, usually for code, and certainly if you're doing some kind of in-law suite, granny suite, nanny suite downstairs, 2 foot by 2 foot is a minimum code. So you'll see that we actually have these windows here. It's just really a point of egress if somebody is in the basement area. And if you plan to use it for multiple purposes, like the family room or the theater room, etc., you want to be able to have a secondary fire exit. If you can't go out through a door, if you don't have the walk-up basement, and there's only one egress into the basement through the main part of the house, these other multiple points of egress allow you to kind of get out. We're looking at this platoon membrane as well, and this usually goes all the way around the property. Behind it, in many cases, we're using a parging, a waterproofing parging that goes in to make sure, again, everything's tied into water management. With the exteriors of the Stone Mill homes, a number of things are standard. What you're typically seeing, because of the stone mill name, is a stucco and stone finish. Now, do you have to have that? No, certainly where the stucco is being visible here, you could use something like brick. You could use a composite material called a hardy board, which comes in a number of different types of finishes, kind of like a clapboard finish or a cedar shake finish, or even a scalloped shake finish on here. You can do away with the stone, or you could use natural stone. This particular man-made stone that you see through here is a very consistent stone. Shoal-Ice has provided it for us. It's actually put on very similar to a brick that you would see. However, what we have the ability to do is to create different textures and different stylings. So a couple of things can happen where we can do a different mix, a color mix, where there's some darker and some lighter stone. It can be more in the grays or the taupes. And depending on how we actually do the finish of the mortar between each of the pieces individually. In many cases, Stone Mill's signature is to put the mortar on with a 12 by 12 piece of carpet. What that basically does is have the stone poke out through that particular mortar. A lot of mortar mud that is actually on the stone itself. That gives it a very heritage, very historical look. Or in this particular case, because of the style and design of this house, they've actually troweled away more of that particular mortar that you see between the stone. Here's what happens with Stone Mill regarding lights, and this is both interior and exterior. Stone Mill does not provide lighting, although we do allow you to use our supplier of lighting so that you can buy lights at a wholesale cost. But we do recommend that you allow us to do the installation of the lights. So if you have the light fixture in its entirety in a box, we can go ahead and put it where you want us to put it up. Many times our clients are coming up with vintage lighting they've got off of Craigslist or eBay. And what we're suggesting to the client is, as long as the pieces are all there, the hardware to allow us to install the light, that's all we look for. Around the sills, you see how it's actually trimmed in. In many cases, if we're actually doing any kind of caulking, we're doing a lot of things where the caulking is actually underneath sills. So there's not great big gobs of stuff that are kind of poking out or here. We're also looking at a maintenance-free exterior. So although you're seeing a wood post, etc. behind me, this would be capped in an aluminum facade so that everything on the exterior here could possibly be maintenance-free for you. We also do the soffit lights that you'll see at the top. Stone Mill does provide standard at least 6 lights that you could use front, back, underneath this particular porch area, etc. That's included with the Stone Mill pricing. We also do 20 pot lights inside into the low voltage, energy efficient lights that you see through here. And like I said, 20 is what we put in. Doesn't stop you from putting in more at a cost of roughly about $185 to $200 a pot light thereafter. Our shingles that we use is a 35-year shingle. And what that basically is, we used to use a product that was an asphalt-based shingle and a 25-year shingle. But we found that the breakdown was happening within the first 8 to 10 years. So we've moved to this composite material, and the kind of joining of the composite and the asphalt reduces a lot of the debris that comes off the shingle, etc., and gives us a longer life. In many cases, our homes are situated in a lot of landscape, so there's a lot of trees, a lot of debris that falls, etc. And what you're seeing is a difference in the way that the shingle is standing up under that pounding away of trees and sticks and debris. It is something that Stone Mill does on a fairly regular basis, and pretty much all of our designs is to put in a porch that you see off the back, and possibly one in the front. But these ones run anywhere from 22 to 26 feet. They're anywhere from 11 to 14 feet wide. There is a full foundation underneath this particular porch as well, so that becomes the cantina. And I realize this is quite the large cantina, but it is there. So this isn't just sitting on a slab. Again, as we talked about, one of the reasons why we don't like to kind of pop out of the ground too far is because you'll notice that there's no railings. There'll be no railings on this particular porch at all, so that we'll have one step down to grade so that your guests can enjoy it. You'll also see how we handle and manage our garden door, our sliding door systems here on the back. This extra space is becoming so utilized where you step right from the family room onto the porch level, and it just doubles the size for entertaining. We've actually seen Many of our clients take what we deliver here with a smooth concrete finish and actually go to something of a tile, a terrazzo tile, or you're actually seeing limestone being put down here as an additional finish on top of that. Any of those additional finishes would be an extra charge. We leave it in the smooth concrete finish. You can certainly kind of put down the exterior rugs that you see that are designed for patios, etc., just to change the dynamic here in the back. So now we're on the main part.